Good morning. It's morning huddle time. Chad Prinky here, as always, along with my good friend, producer, co-host extraordinaire, Stacey
Stop.
Holden. Stacey.
Hey, how do you want us to install this water heater? And my coworker was like, I don't know, install the water heater. Like, why are you even asking me? He's like, well, I don't know if you know, but what you designed, it can't physically fit through the front door of this building.
My class is only 40 minutes. So we have to get this done in 40 minutes. You have to clean up in 40 minutes. And then it also, when you use the miter saw, a lot of kids are scared of the miter saw, and you just see the difference in their confidence when they come in here compared to when they leave. They're excited.
Be announcing a new county that's going to join us in Maryland, so we continue to spread it. And I'll say my peers across the country are starting to take this and adopt this at their local IEC chapters.
Either AI assistant tools, you have AI master builder tools, and then you have kind of a bit of both that are 1 foot in BIM, in current processes, and 1 foot in AI.
Said, Brett, in life, opportunity meets you at your level of preparation.
She said, here's the keys, go forth and do great things.
Good morning. It is morning huddle time. Chad Prinky here alongside Stacey Holzinger. Stacey, how are you today?
I'm doing good this morning. What's going on in your world?
I got to tell you, you're streaking. You're like a full month into the year without being sick, Stace. What's going on?
I haven't been sick since September. It's been amazing. I love it.
Find wood and knock now. Right? Good. Well, it is great to see that you really, in all sincerity, last year you spent too much time sick. So it's great to see that you're feeling good. Yeah.
So what have you been up to? I've been seeing some posts that you're working with some great companies.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So one of the things that we spend a lot of time doing at Well Built Consulting, which is the day job, is we get a chance to do a lot of retreat facilitation, and seems like pretty much from like October through February, kind of thing. That tends to be a pretty heavy retreat season. And it is, talk about an inspiring job. I feel just so fortunate to be in all these situations where companies are pulling together all their amazing people, and they're working on, creating a vision and getting excited about their business. And, it fills us with a lot of energy, me and in our team. So, we were just with Hercules Fence, which is a really big company. Like, they do a lot of fence, man. It's crazy, the size of this group. And,
are they in our area?
So their home base, their corporate headquarters is in Norfolk, Virginia, which they have a couple of offices down in that region, which, to me seems like one spot on the map, but if you're down there, actually is very different. There's a difference between Norfolk and Yorktown, and then they have office in Richmond, and then up in Maryland, and man, they have a really big presence across the region. They do a ton of the data center work in Northern Virginia. They do projects like, if you ever watch a documentary about January 6th, 2021, if you watch a documentary from January 6th, 21, you'll see the Hercules Fence logos all over the place as they were doing all those fences down at the Capitol afterwards, right? They were reinforcing perimeter security at the Capitol. So anyway, big company, great people, a lot of fun. That was just this past weekend. And like I say, it's a great time of year. How about you? What's going on in your world, Stacey? I just found out you're not a full-time podcast producer. I kind of thought
it feels like it sometimes. I'm doing a lot of website work. A lot of people like to rebrand and start their website in the new year and goals like that. I feel like the dirt world is dominating when it comes to marketing and construction, but I've seen an uptick, and I'm working with electrical contractors, roofing companies, definitely site work companies, but other trades that are finally, revamping their websites, trying to get up to date, trying to have marketing materials ready. to hand out. And then also social media. I mean, there's companies that still are just jumping on board. And LinkedIn's been around for 22 years, something like
Sounds
that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still like just joining, but I'm glad that they're joining.
Welcome. Yeah.
Well,
Welcome to the party. It's all good. Yeah, I think that's great. But and just out of curiosity, why do you think the excavation contractors have been earlier adopters on
I think
upgrading brand presence and such?
Aaron from BuildWit
Mhm.
has, if you follow him, he's created a beautiful thing over there, has a wonderful team,
Mhm.
has photographers, videographers, and they just focus on that niche. And he's doing a great job with that niche. We just need more marketing professionals to focus on all the other trades. I think there's 22 of them. They're not getting enough attention. So that's an issue.
Calling all marketing professionals. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, okay, so I want to introduce our guest today. Our guest is a longtime friend of mine, and I know you've known him quite a while too, Stacy, and have sounded like lots of overlap in the different stuff that you guys are doing together. His name is Mike Henderson. Mike, good to see you this morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. It's good to be with you. So
we were talking before we went on about, the best podcasts do good chit chat before you guys do good chit chat.
Here's I think the secret. Right. I think the secret is that Stacy and I like each other, that's big.
It comes through.
You can't fake it. Mike is the president of ABC Baltimore. ABC Baltimore, I think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, the oldest chapter of the Associated Builders and Contractors?
No. ABC was born in Baltimore.
Aha.
So the national headquarters was Baltimore. So when they started thinking about chapters, expanding for them was the Eastern Shore and Lancaster and whatnot. So we are not
the oldest chapter, but ABC was the birth. I'm sorry, Baltimore was the birthplace
of ABC. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Mike, how are things in your world? I mean, first off, how long have you been the chapter president at ABC? And then you served inside ABC as an employee elsewhere before that, right?
Yeah, I worked at the national office in DC, and then we moved to Virginia, and now they're back in DC. That was a long time ago. Yeah, so I was their director of communications, marketing, business development, good stuff like that. And
awesome.
I spent 3-4 hours a day in a car or a train. So when the Baltimore job came open, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I jumped at it, and it's been a blessing. It's been a wild ride. It's a good job for me. I have a short attention span, and there's a lot of things buzzing around that we can focus our attention on. So it's been a good fit for me, and hopefully for this organization.
Well, it's a really, really interesting political environment as it relates to construction, the state of Maryland. It's a fascinating place to do business, and the city of Baltimore in particular, another fascinating place to do business. So I think you've been plugged into that in a way that.
Are we putting quote marks around fascinating?
So fascinating meaning like, have you ever seen?
I know what you mean by fascinating.
Okay, very good. I was going to say like a train crash or any number of those types of fascinating situations that. But no, I think
what has helped us a lot, and I don't know how much you want to.
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah.
But when we moved, we for years had been in the county. We used to, borrow steel space to do training in. We're in the high schools at night. We were releasing space in the city and in the county. When we decided to consolidate everything in the city, and it was like central, we mapped where all of our members are, and where all the apprentices live. And we picked a space that was central to all that. But we gained a lot of credibility with elected officials when we built this facility, because at a time when people were leaving the city, we're the only, I think we're the only ABC chapter in the country located in an urban setting. And it's been amazing. It's been great. That said, we do training in the county and other locations, but 90% of what we do happens here at the Construction Education Academy.
Well, you have a phenomenal facility.
It's really nice.
You've had some really bold volunteer leadership at the board level that I think had a vision, and really it's an impressive thing that you guys have carried out. I remember when I first heard about where you were going to set up, and I remember I was nervous. I was like, ooh, how's that going to go?
Crazy. Yeah, you weren't the only one. I had, you're going to lose your staff. You're going to lose no one's going to send people there. And thankfully, gratefully, that has not.
Yeah, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. It's been, it's a vibrant place. If anybody hasn't been by the ABC, if you're in this region and you haven't been by the ABC Baltimore office, it's worth the trip, and I'm sure you'll get a tour from one of their awesome staff. It's a great place to be. So, well, thank you. That's a good primer. And I think when I think about ABC, of course, there's the natural tendency to think about it in terms of promoting the merit shop and protecting the merit shop philosophy and all the different markets that they're in. But I think about ABC as well as a part of the broader effort to make construction a better place, to make it an easier industry to join, to make it a safer industry, to make to increase our sense of pride in our work and all those types of things. And so how ABC does that, provides resources to companies and also to individual apprentices, future craftsmen, right? Future tradespeople. And I think one of the things that you and I started, I just kind of learned about, through you, whatever, in the past year, is this idea of growing the minority and women-owned contracting businesses in this region. And what would it take to make ABC Baltimore to make ABC Baltimore a place where those contractors could go and become better versions of themselves. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the overall picture. What is this concept that I've heard it called the incubator. I've heard it some other terms as brainstorming's happened over the past few months. Talk about this concept, Mike.
So we have created a accelerator for early stage minority women business enterprises. The idea is to really go to the general contracting community and say, when you look at the NWBEs that you work with, who do you think has, demonstrates to you, like, if they were given some wraparound services, coaching, support, accountability, education, financial resources, that you think have the best opportunity to just take off and skyrocket. And so we are doing 2 pilots, 6 months long, 5 participants in each. Been working with a host of people and putting this together. A guy named Evan Roberts, who runs Clipper Construction, he and I have worked closely on this. You and I have spent a lot of time, because we have a whole coaching piece to this. It's really kind of the main piece to this. And you're kind of our quarterback coach. And we just started recently working with a group called Innovation Works. This may be one of the most innovative, coolest organizations I've come across in this region. And their president, Jay Nawachu, what they do is mentoring. And they've done it for all sorts of businesses. So they have great experience and depth in this area. But what led us down this road, it was 20 something years ago, and we were part of when Hopkins was coming out with their bio med community and the whole East Baltimore Development Initiative. And they were looking for an organization that would come in and provide training and job opportunities for their local residents, because all these people were being displaced by all the construction.
Yeah.
And that's how a program called Project Jumpstart was created. And never imagined it would still be going strong 20 something, 17, 18 years from now. But what I was struck with was there really wasn't anyone out there who was working with women, minority-owned businesses to help them with a backroom business, pricing, profitability, operations, managing your field force.
Not in any structured way.
There's a lot of people running around showing them here's where the opportunities are.
Yep.
Which is great, all fine and good. But the reality is the failure rate in this community of businesses hasn't changed much, still nearly double of that. And there's a lot of reasons for that. When we see somebody, we have 650 member firms.
When you say we here, you're talking about ABC.
Baltimore,
not this incubator program.
No. That would be a really big.
That would be, yeah. That would be, yeah. We would be nationwide.
What we see happen the most is you were a really good carpenter or plumber or electrician, and you worked your way up in the company. You became a foreman and a super and an estimator, and one day you say, you know what, I can do this, and you go out and you start your own company, and you may not have much more than a truck and equipment, but these companies have 100, 200 employees working for them now. I mean, it's just the rarest of industries where you see that happen. But what we often see, those opportunities in the minority community historically have not been as readily available to gain that kind of experience where you kind of get a chance to see the whole spectrum of what it takes to run a successful company.
Yep.
But you've got the state of Maryland and the city of Baltimore and other local jurisdictions that are saying, okay, we're gonna set aside 25% of our construction needs to have participation from this community. So that's created a lot of opportunities. It's created a lot of challenges. So when we see a company go under, I'm talking now about an MWBE, it's rarely because they did not have enough business.
Right. Yeah. They don't starve to death.
More often than not, they took a job they probably should have not taken.
As I call it, food poisoning. Right? You can starve to death, or you can get food poisoning. They tend to die because they took on the wrong job, they couldn't handle it, or they took on too much work and they didn't have the staff.
Absolutely, and you can hardly blame them. Your new company and opportunities are coming your way, and do you dare turn away business? But that's often what can sink a company. So our focus is on all those pieces that have been a harder, more elusive for these companies. So we want to and the goal is that this is not a one and done. We have to create a sustainable model. So this is something we can do year in, year out.
Which you have a track record, you personally and the ABC Baltimore, I'll just call it community, has a track record of doing successfully. Project Jumpstart is just one of the most wildly successful programs I've ever seen of its type. I've been around most metro regions and watched their workforce development in action. And the Jumpstart. What can you do a 30-second overview of Project Jumpstart just for people who aren't familiar with that? Just as a, and again, the reason I'm calling this up is well, number one, it's good to talk about it and spread that word. But number two is that it helps to put some perspective around, like, there is a track record here of saying, here's an unmet need, here's a bold idea, and we can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, Hopkins was building a biotech community, and to make that happen, they did a lot of housing, a lot of new buildings. People who lived in that region, in that area of the city, were being displaced. And the concern among private and public funders was that to make sure local residents got a chance to benefit economically. So there was a request for a proposal to create a job training and job placement program. We had played with this before, and we did one. We did a pilot. We had a trailer. We had 40-hour training. Then we tried to place people, and it failed in a spectacular way. And we learned a lot of great lessons from that. So we're going to historically underserved communities in the city. Mm-hmm. And there's a screening process and math testing, and you're kind of gauging their commitment to working. And then most of the people that come to Jumpstart are a little bit older. They're late 20s, early 30s, even into their 40s. And some of our best success stories are people who started in their 50s. But they've all had, challenges, and probably 2/3 of which they've gone through the criminal justice system. And so at this point, they were deadly serious about this opportunity. So they go through a 14-week program, a lot of emphasis on job readiness. We're not turning anyone into an electrician or a plumber, but they're getting those hands-on experience, but a lot more about this is what it takes to be a successful employee. And we bring in employers who talk about the opportunities, who talk about how to be successful. And because we have a track record and we have literally hundreds of great success stories, we bring in past graduates. Yep. And we don't have to beg or prod to get them to come in. They want to come in, and they tell their story, and they go like, you know what? I sat where you're sitting. I thought the same thing. Like, this is going to be a big fat waste of time, like every other program I've been through. And you know what? If you invest in it, they're going to invest in you. So we've been really fortunate. They go into apprenticeship. They're journeymen. They're, one of our early graduates, he was just, he's ready to start his own company. Talked about getting a house for his mother. His mother always took care of him. Now he can take care of his mom. But there's literally, these stories are amazing.
They really are.
Guy was homeless, and dealing with drug addiction, and now we have Jumpstart students that now teach an apprenticeship program. Yeah, and we only take the best, and it's just, anyway, it's been an amazing thing.
Talk about a turnaround for an individual's life, and also helping to meet the workforce needs. And again, it's a win-win, and there's lots of these around. And I think that's where the minority and women, business enterprise incubator program can fit. I want to pause for a moment and thank our sponsors, the people who helped to spread the word of the huddle. We're broadening our audience every day because of the partnership of these companies. I'll start with Marsh McLennan Agency, the insurance, risk management, surety, bonding, healthcare, and retirement and wealth services, really like everything under one banner. And they really specialize in working with construction companies. That's that sort of mid-sized, small to mid-sized contractor is their bread and butter. And if you're not working with them today, or you don't know anybody there, I'm confident that you would just benefit from knowing the people there, regardless of working with them. They really know their stuff. Next is Sandy Spring Bank. Sandy Spring Bank represents so many contractors in this region. They just understand what it takes to run a construction company. They're there for these folks, and step up when they need to, when these companies need bridges, and to make it all happen. They treat them like a business partner, and they think like business owners. Can't say enough good things about about that group. Then there's Lawrence Law. Mike, you know Lawrence Law. They're good friends of ours, both. And Lawrence Law, same. I mean, really, again, just she really understands. Kate and her team really understand the construction community and what it takes to support the legal needs of contractors of that small and mid-size range. And then lastly, we have Katz Abosch, which is a accounting firm also based in this region, with another team of just awesome accountants who understand they understand a whip, and they understand the unique nature of managing a construction P&L and balance sheet. And these are they're top-notch people to work with, not only as tax and audit, but also as business consultants. So thank you to those 4 sponsors. Mike, one of the things that you were talking about earlier that really kicked something in my brain, jarred something loose. Do you remember the book E-Myth? Have you ever read that book? It's an old book. It's called The E-Myth.
Is it enough that I've heard of it?
What's that?
I've heard of the book.
All right, good. Yeah. So one of the things in the E-Myth that the central theme, right, is that, and at the beginning of the book, they talk about this woman who is awesome at making pies, and everybody in her life is like, you should open up a pie shop. Well, meanwhile, she's got like a banking job or something like that, and she's like ho hum at her job, but she's passionate about making pies. And then one day she just says, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to strike out on my own. I'm going to become an entrepreneur, and I'm going to open up a pie shop. And it sounds great, and she's really enthusiastic about it. And then a couple of years on, she realizes that she's got to run the books for this place, that she's got a staff that she has to hire and fire and deal with their showing up or not showing up. And she's got customers that she's got to keep happy, and make sure that she keeps her ratings good and all that type of stuff. And she realizes that now all of a sudden making her pies is actually something that depresses her. It makes her unhappy. And the story is that, in any business, you got to have 3, skill sets. You've got to have the expert, the person that knows their stuff about the thing. You've got to have the manager, the person that understands how to manage and navigate the individual, the people, and the business, right? The numbers and the people. And then there's the entrepreneur, the visionary, the person who, can lay out the picture and have the business acumen to make tough choices. And I think going back to this incubator program, one of the things you were talking about is a lot of these people who come out, they're experts. They know their stuff. They may know, they really understand how masonry works, or they really understand how electrical work operates. What they haven't done necessarily has been that manager, or maybe they've been the manager as well, but they haven't been that entrepreneur. And I think what I'm hearing you talk about is that those are the resources all 3, but those are the resources that we're prepared to wrap around these folks, to meet them where they are and help them to fill whatever, gaps they need, both from a coaching standpoint and a hands-on execution standpoint. Does that sound right?
Yeah, but I as you're talking, I realize I probably should clarify something. I'm speaking in very broad terms right
Of
now.
course.
Some of our most successful and well-run companies are minority and women-owned, but there's just far too large of a there's too many people in the community that are not getting those same opportunities, or have their expertise is, they're, like I said, really good at their craft. if Maryland tomorrow were to say, all right, we're going to give a third of all construction is going to be set aside for white, middle-aged, and I'm going to put quotes around middle-aged. I think that ship is
We
sailed.
both fit. I think we're okay.
Okay, thanks. That was generous of you. If they were to say, even though I have no idea how to run a construction company, I'd like, you know what? I should give this a shot, and I would likely fail spectacularly.
Right.
But there's that carrot out there, and so there's just a real genuine need to create a sustainable enterprise that is going to be able to come alongside these companies. Again, not everybody is going to need this, but and again, we're going to depend heavily upon our general contractor members to help identify and say, I think this guy is worth investing in. I think this woman is worth investing in. So that's what our focus, and we have the team we have around them is, even though you're, in the room, is flat out amazing. This is a great room. You're serving as, the management business planning guy, but you're also kind of the quarterback that's going to kind of steer what our other coaches are doing. We've got this woman, Verna Karolinko, who does a lot of work in with us in training, and she's got years of experience in management, financial operations for contractors, every which size, shape, specialty. She's amazing. She's one of our most popular teachers. And then we're going to have an individual, we're still landed on this person, who's going to focus on estimating bid strategy and field operations. But then there's a lot of training involved in this. And we're going to all be in the same location in the space that Clipper has over new space over in Locust Point, and being together and having and kind of feeding off one another, and the spirit of accountability and being accountable to themselves and to each other. We think we're giving these companies the best chance at succeeding. That was a really long answer, and I really didn't even answer the question you posed, but that's my thing. I'm really good.
That's what I've come to expect. That was but somehow I feel good about the answer. And that's also, I think, a magic trick that you have. No, I think at the end of the day, what I think we both believe philosophically, right, is that there's a reason that there is business earmarked for these groups, and the idea is to help historically disadvantaged groups to thrive, to have opportunities. And what we've both seen many, many times is that the opportunities themselves are not enough. The opportunities themselves can actually put these companies out of business instead of helping them to thrive. And so what that group needs is to be extremely well-run businesses and have the opportunities. And the combination between both of those things is what will oftentimes propel them to new heights. And then we'll have a much greater diversity in our business community as a result. And just like every program like this, I think the vision is to eventually not need it. Right? Every program like this, the vision is to phase it out because it's no longer necessary. And you're 100% right. We're fortunate enough to work with some awesome MWBE companies ourselves. And these are just flat out great companies. But they're too few. They're not enough that have just become flat out great companies who've, outgrown the set aside status. They're not enough of those.
We used to do this program. We have had a great partnership over the years with the Maryland Minority Contractors Association, and we used to have this best practice network where their board would honor a general contractor who does the best job of fostering positive communications with the minority community, and then the general contractors would honor the company they think does, just great at performing the work, at managing the work and communication and all that. And I remember Jeff Hargrave with Mahogany, and this was probably 20 years ago. And Jeff now has moved on as general contractor. He also he was the chairman of our board. And I remember Jeff saying when he was getting his award, the governor was there, was a part of it. And he said he thinks the goal for every MWBE is like to just be a contractor.
Right.
Get to the point where you're a contractor and people are working with you and selecting with you beyond any designation that you
just
have.
because you're better, just because they like you better and you
now
do
the
better
designation
work.
Creates that opportunity.
That's right.
But the goal should not be just to stay there, but the goal is to grow up and beyond that. And I was really struck with Jeff's comments.
I think he's gotten there, right? If I'm not mistaken, Jeff's definitely there. And I think about another one of our guests actually, who's going to be coming on this year, Greg from Ironshore. Ironshore is there. They're
Greg,
just
Greg,
an awesome company.
We've seen his operation. We work with Greg closely. Greg is on our board. Greg does everything really, really well.
He does. Yeah. So, okay, Mike, let's talk about the sort of how people get involved. What are the next steps? What does this program need? Because if for the audience, if you're wondering, like, can I sign up? The answer is eventually, right? The answer, but this is in early stages. So what do we need at this point to turn this concept into a clear reality? What are the things, the pieces to this puzzle we need?
So I'm just going to give you the most tedious of answers to that. We need money.
Right.
This initiative costs money. Now we already have a commitment from Maryland Economic and Community Development for, a really nice commitment, but we're not done yet. So this first go around the idea is that it's going to be more expensive. Long term, we have to figure out how to do this really cost effectively.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you want to build a volunteer network out to do a lot of what we're doing with, people who don't have that ability to be in a volunteer situation.
So, you're not only getting, I guess, 12 hours or so of coaching per month, but you're also, this involves a lot of our classes, estimating and project management. If I had a petri dish and I could grow estimators, the world would be the path to my door.
Right. It's so true.
That and money. If I could, the money thing is but the estimating is huge because, like I said, it could make or break your company if you're not putting everything you need to into that estimate. And that's, maybe 10, 12 years ago, we actually hired an individual whose sole job really it was to work with individual MWB companies and help them understand takeoffs. And he's probably spent most of his time one-on-one with these companies. It wasn't sustainable, and this person was in huge demand. And after 7 years, he went someplace else. But during that time, it just really struck me the value that we were providing these companies.
Yeah,
wonderful value. So how do we scale that up? One at a time. That's a pretty slow slog. We got to figure out how to do this on a much bigger scale.
So on one hand, it's money. On another hand, it's talent, right? It's
okay, and that's obviously we want the right candidates. We're not looking for startups. We're looking for companies that already have got their designation and they have some experience. But again, these are early stage companies, probably 2 years old or less. So where there's a lot of opportunity for to get good ingrained habits and just gives them, I think, the best opportunity to be successful long term.
And you're looking for 10 participants in 2 different pilot programs,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay. And then
Um,
is that the company owners that would participate in?
yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Probably
Good.
thinking of sole proprietor for this to work, because now we realize there are people who go like, I already have space. I'm a perfect candidate for what you're doing, and I'm already paying rent. I have an office, or I've got a great office in my house, and I don't want to change that. We don't want to exclude someone like that. We just think by being in a community with that whole sense of shared accountability and encouragement, and just having people to bounce things off of, that's going to create the kind of synergy, which is a word I never use. I hate that word, but it fits. Kind of synergy to really help give them the best chance of succeeding.
Yeah, love it. I love it. So, and we're, if you may be watching, listening to this right now and thinking, I'm a great candidate. How would they reach out? How would they?
They
how
should email me. I don't know if you can include that in your notes, but it's mhenderson@abcbaltimore.org.
Awesome.
And you mentioned project management and estimating as coaches. Do you need any other different categories like HR, marketing, accounting, finance?
No, we've got all that covered. And there are some great candidates out there. We just have not landed that plane yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Awesome. All right, good. And I want to thank you for having this daydream in the first place, and allowing the vision to take shape with some of the folks like me and like Evan and Verna. The people that you're getting involved in this are, I think, philosophically aligned. I think it's the right group, and I'm certain that we will be celebrating some progress at some point. I hope to have you on about the same time next year and start telling some success stories.
Oh, yeah. I would love that. And as long as you're pitching out there, general contractors that are listening, and if this is something that you'd like to be a part of, please reach out to me as well, because again, we're looking to that community to be probably the best source for candidates.
Awesome. All right, Mike, this has been great. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
this
for
was
coming
fun.
on and
Thank
talking
you.
about this.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. All right, good. Stacy, let's wrap things up. Yeah, I first off, I love when new ideas present themselves that could actually make an impact, on people's lives and start to make somebody's life better. So I love these types of conversations. Keep these going, and thank you for helping to always set up the coolest guests.
Did you guys come up with a name for the program yet, or are you still working
Stop
on it?
it. We don't know. We're working on it, Stacy.
Okay.
Jeez. You got any marketing brain people who want to?
I might be able to help with that.
Well, if we'll provide an update to everybody when we have it. Mike is really truly gifted on coming up with marketing slogans, terms, things like that. He's somebody I like to bounce things off of. So I'm confident it'll be awesome, but nothing that we're promoting yet that I know of. So right now, what we really need is, like I say, funding and the people waiting in the wings for the support. And I think we'll be able to push it through from there. So, Stacey, who do we have on next week?
We have Andrea Jansen, and I'm also going to see her for a big event. MCCEI, Maryland Center for Construction and Innovation, is hosting on February 28th, called the Image of the Industry event. And Mike Henderson will be there too, or at least one of his partners. So we're looking forward to that. Andrea, we had on before, right? With women, because Women in Construction Week is coming up in March. So she joined us, and that was a very well attended episode. I think it was last year. but she's going to speak to us a little bit more about diversity and inclusion.
So yeah, Andrea, a couple of things on this. She's a partner of Well Built. Her company is a partner company of Well Built Consulting. One of the things that we love to do is to help bring a message to two different kinds of groups. Right, one is the group of, let's face it, largely male leadership teams inside construction companies who really do need to be getting some exposure to the value of diversity and learning about that. So I think that's a lot of what we'll be talking about. But we love bringing Andrea in with our clients, Andrea and her team in with our clients to tell that story and to help create awareness and education on the value of diversity, why that's a good thing. And then the other thing is speaking to the women inside these construction companies, helping them on a leadership development path and helping them to be prepared and comfortable to step up into the leadership roles that so many of them should be playing. So and I think the combination of those two things is truly helping the companies that they're doing it with, and we appreciate that partnership. So I'd love to hear some success stories from Andrea next week too. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great to know that you guys are partnering. I think that's a great match.
Yeah, I do too. I right after we had her on the first time, I was like, we need to work together. So that was a discovery and a lot of fun to have her on. So, all right, good. Is there anything else on your mind before we wrap things up, Stace?
Yeah, for anyone that is still on listening that is interested in this pilot program, I'm going to do a recap. So if you don't subscribe to our newsletter, please do, and you can do that by reaching out to me at Stacey, STACEYH at steeltoecom.com. And I'll give you, a rough details of what we talked about today, or if you know someone that's interested, you can at least forward to them, and then just keep in touch with Mike or Chad as this comes to fruition, right?
Yeah, totally. And just another plug for the Morning Huddle Construction Show.com. This is a place where if you just look up the Morning Huddle Construction Show, Google will now send you to our site, which is a great place for you to subscribe, check out past episodes, make sure that you're connecting with all the stuff that we're putting out every week.
Yep. And Super Bowl, who are you picking?
I mean, I don't like either of these teams. So it comes down to some humans that I'm rooting for.
Okay.
And here's I think, because I hate the 49ers, but I really like Brock Purdy. So I hope Brock Purdy wins MVP and they lose 76-74 or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just hope it's a shootout. It's a lot of fun. Brock Purdy wins MVP, but the Niners lose. That would be my perfect scenario. And then, I don't need Kansas City to win. I'd rather they didn't. But somebody has to. So,
I want Kansas City to win, and not because of Taylor Swift.
I don't even know who Taylor Swift is. We're gonna have to cover that on another episode.
I think she's been covered enough.
Yeah. All right. I may know who she is at this point. I have some exposure. All right, cool. Have an awesome day. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.